Before starting, you need to make sure that you have Google Sheets downloaded in your phone so that once you open the file, you will just be redirected directly to Google Sheets. So there, you have this given data set. Now our objective is to construct a frequency distribution table. So first, if you have tables, meaning you have headers or labels. So we have our label here, the brand purchase. So that is in bold, so you can unbold it or you can bold it. And then we have the frequency. Aside from that, we have the relative frequency. And the percent frequency. Okay, so these are what we will be getting for today. So to start, first is you need to identify what are those elements that need to be counted. So in this case, we have those different brands of soft drink. So we will list them down under brand purchase. It is much more easier to just simply copy and paste the data so that you won't avoid you will avoid any errors, because even if there is a difference in casing of the letters, it will be counted as a separate element by Google Sheets. So copy pasting is much better rather than typing itself. So at least you can make sure that you are counting the correct element. So again, just copy and paste. Long press to copy, and then in its destination cell, another long press to paste. What else? We have Dr. Pepper and Sprite. So it is challenging if you are using a phone because it is smaller, so you need to have patience. After which is we are ready to compute the frequency. Now to get the frequency, we make use of the function COUNTIF. Again, we make use of the function COUNTIF, and since we are using a function or a formula, we always start with an equal sign. So equal COUNTIF, meaning you will count how many of the criterion are found in the range. So our range is our data set, so that is A2. That's A2 until A51. So our range is A2 to A51. So that is our range. So that's where you will count. Next is what will you count? That will be your criterion. So you will count your brand purchase, so you can, or the elements under brand purchase, so you can just directly press that, and then when you press this check mark, so it directly gives you the result that there are 19 Coca-Colas in this data set. So out of 50, there are 19 who chose Coca-Cola. So you can re-enter the same formula again, or you can do this. In order for you not to continuously type equals and then COUNTIF, for the range again is A2 to A51. If you are using mobile, I highly advise that it is much better to type in whenever you are working on a large data set, because it is harder to drag when you are using phone. It's better to type in. See, you still selected the same. No, you still selected. See, when you drag, you encounter different kinds of things and problems. So it's much easier to type in. And then we will count the Diet Coke. So that is our criterion. Now, if you may notice, its difference from the Coca-Cola is only the criterion. Again, the difference with the formula from the Coke is only the criterion part. Our range is constant. So if we want to just copy and paste it, so we won't be retyping this same formula and just changing the criterion, we can simply make our range an absolute value. So by adding a dollar sign, you insert dollar sign before the cell column name and the cell row name. So in this case, before A and 2, meaning you don't want to change its column and you don't want to change its row. So it would stay as is at row or at cell number 82. So you do the same for A and you do the same for 51. So this will be your formula. And then you click check. So there it resulted to 8. Now with that, you can simply copy the formula on D5 and paste it with your formula for the other elements. So paste and paste. So as you can see, if we recheck the formulas, see, our formula for Pepsi is 82 to A51 for the range, and the criterion is already C6. So only the criterion changed when you copy and pasted it. Again, only the criterion changed when you copy and pasted it, because you indicated that your range is an absolute value. So you put dollar signs before the column and row names. So it would mean that it shouldn't change even if you copy and paste it. So that's what it means. So if you check on the not D6, it should be C6. If you check on Dr. Pepper, still the same. A2 to A51 is constant. So only the criterion part change. So that is a tip for you, so that you won't have to continuously input the formula. Now, to get the total number of frequencies, or how many data do we have, simply just make use of the sum function. And what values do you want to add? So in this case, values from D4 until until D8. So this is what I'm saying, that is easier if you just type in instead of dragging, because you might include other things that shouldn't be included. So learn from me. That is how you get the sum. So simply, so as I said, it's 50. So there are 50. How do you know this is 50? That's from A2 to A51. See, why is it 51? Because the first row is for the header or the label. So basically there are 50 elements. Now, how do we get the relative frequency? In getting the relative frequency, the formula for relative frequency, okay, let's write it here. Your relative frequency is equal to your frequency divided by your total frequency. Again, it is your relative frequency is your frequency divided by your total frequency. So in this case, if we want to get the relative frequency of Coke, it should be equals your value or your frequency for Coke. So in this case, 19 divided by your total frequency, which is 50. Again, 50 is your total frequency. So it would result to 0.38. So out of the 50 Coca-Colas, 0.38 of which forms part or chose Coke as their brand. So you will just compute for the relative frequency of the others by doing the same, or again, as I mentioned, since what is constant here is the total frequency. So again, we can just make use of the absolute sign, which is the dollar sign, so that when we copy and paste, our total frequency amount wouldn't change. So it would continuously select 50 or D9. So just add dollar signs before the D and before the 9. So see, it still resulted to 0.38. And just simply copy and paste. So okay, so there you go. There. Now, one thing that you should remember is that since relative frequency is a portion of your total frequency, meaning the sum of all your relative frequency should always equal to 1. Again, the sum of your relative frequency should always equal to 1. So if we check sum of E4 to E8, let me use this. So again, it should result to 1. So it did, meaning your relative frequency computation is correct. Now, let's move on to your percent frequency. Percent frequency is just simply the percent form of your relative frequency. Again, percent frequency is just the percent form of your relative frequency. So it's either you simply multiply your relative frequency by 100. No. Oh, I changed this a while ago. I'm so sorry. So you might wonder, why is it 3,000? It's because this part is already in percent form. So you can simply select the value of your relative frequency. So there. How did I change it to percent format? So, diba, I just simply copied the value of E4, meaning E4 and F4, diba, have the same value. However, why does it have a percent sign? You can change it by clicking this A at the very top, A, and then you have these options for the text and the cell. Now you click on the cell and then you proceed with this number format. So as you can see, the number format is now automatic. So this one, for the one above, the number format is percent. So again, if you won't change it to percent, as I mentioned a while ago, you can just simply select the relative frequency and multiplied it by 100. So it would show 16. That's still the same as saying 38 because again, your percent frequency is just the percent form of your relative frequency. So both amounts are still valid. You're just saying 0.38 is to 38%, 0.16 is to 16%. This method wherein you multiply by 100, it is just the easiest, it is easier way because you're simply multiplying it. But if you want to be fancy and you want to see the percent sign, so you can do what I did previously mentioned, wherein you just equal this with the relative frequency. There, you will still see 0.16. We have the same values now. And then you change its format. So again, you go to this letter A at the top, then click on the cell and you scroll down and you see the number format. Instead of automatic, you change it to percent. And when you change it to percent, see, it changed to percent form. It already has a percent sign, fancier, but still the same amount, 16. So if you do that for all the other values, okay, so let's copy and paste first. You can just simply copy and paste. So if you sum the percent frequency, obviously, how much would be the sum? Can I hear you answer? So the sum would be, obviously, it would result to 100%. So that is how you get the percent frequency, relative frequency, and frequency itself. So again, your percent frequency is just your relative frequency multiplied by 100. So that is simply your percent frequency.